gave us the summary of the para, and we will go sentence by sentence. You are right. Okay, so in that case, I will first read the summary of what he has said earlier, okay, in the previous paragraph, so that we get the continuity. So in the previous paragraph, Surendra has said, we must now ask ourselves, first, what is the subconscious in us? Okay? How is it related to our surface nature, body, mind, life? How is it connected to the subliminal of which it seems to be a part? Because that's, yeah, we discussed that. Because if you can see my image, okay, down and then intraconscious, going up and then goes up superconscious. So there is a connection. If you do the round thing, there is a connection. So we must now ask ourselves first, what is the subconscious in us? How is it related to the surface nature? How is it connected to the subliminal of which it seems to be a part? Then further, we are conscious of our body and we even identify ourselves with it. Okay? We are not at all aware how it functions, how the body functions, absolutely no idea. How doctors will say, yes, we are beginning to understand, but that also not fully. Okay? So, how does the heart work? How the kidneys? How the brain? What does the liver do? We know none of these things. We do know, beginning to know, but how the combination of all these things organically works together is still a mystery. So these are hidden operations. We know of them only as far as our medical science tells us. Okay. Now, what about the vital? Just as prana exists in plant and animals, it works in our body also. Prana, energy, universal energy. But we do not fully know how our vital desires, emotions, its subconscious movement, disease is more clear to us than health, pain is more real to us than pleasure. We understand these as much as our mind informs us. So we club all these physical vital movements together and call them unconscious. But this is not true. There is an exaggeration in this view. So that's what Surendra said in the previous one. So the exaggeration is that we know nothing at all about many things. So you can come to know. That's why it's an exaggeration. Now I'll read each sentence and we'll see whether it is clear. This is an exaggeration and a confusion due to our identification of consciousness with mentality and mental awareness. We only feel mentally, we don't know what the vital is doing and what the body is doing. We don't. Mind identifies itself with a certain extent, to a certain extent, with the movements proper to physical life and body, and annexes them to its mentality. We come to know of our body and our mind, of our vital to the mind. That's basically what it is. But if we draw back, if we separate the mind as witness from these parts of us, we can discover that life and body, even the most physical parts of life, have a consciousness of their own. Okay? So there's a consciousness in plants, there's a consciousness in the vital and the body. But that consciousness is not a mental consciousness. It's a very low type of consciousness. Have a consciousness of their own. A consciousness proper to an obscurer vital and to a bodily being. And actually, it's not a mental knowledge, but it works automatically, you can see. Okay? Even such an elemental awareness as primitive animal forms may have. But in us, particularly of the mind and to that extent, mentalized. If you see the animals, how they do exactly what is required of them. No? They do exactly what is required of them. Say, the worm knows exactly what it has to eat, and the ants know where they have to go. So, but that's not a mental knowledge at all. It's an automatic vital consciousness and a body consciousness. Yet, it has not, in its independent motion, the mental awareness which we enjoy naturally. The vital consciousness, the body consciousness is not the same as the mental consciousness. If there is a mind in it, it is mind involved and implicit in the body and in the physical life. Mind may be there, but it's at a very, very low level of mind. That's what he's saying. Mind is there because everything is involved. Even supermind is there in the body and the vital, but it is hidden deep inside, rooted. If there is a mind in it, it is mind involved and implicit in the body and in the physical life. Exactly like the tree is involved in the seed. You don't see it, but it is there. Similarly, mental consciousness also is there in the vital and the body, but you don't see it in the physical life. If there is mind in it, it is mind involved and implicit in the body and in the vital, in the physical life. There is no organized self-consciousness, but only a sense of action and reaction, movement, impulse and desire, need, necessary activity imposed by nature, hunger, instinct, pain, insensibility, and pleasure. All these things are movements of nature to make you aware and so that you can survive properly. Okay? Even fear is a mechanism of nature. So these are all the things that the body does automatically, and the vital also. Hunger, you don't think mentally that you need food. The body itself tells you. There's a feeling of that you need to take food. Instinct in animals. They know exactly what to do because they don't think mentally, but they just act. Nature makes them act instinctively. Pain also is something that makes you act. You avoid the pain. Insensibility and pleasure. Although thus inferior, the consciousness in the body and the vital, although thus inferior, it has this awareness, obscure, limited, and automatic. But since it is less in possession of itself, void of what was in the stamp of mentality, we may justly call it submental, but not so justly the subconscious part of our being. You can't call it subconscious because then, but it is below the mind. So it's a consciousness which takes a submental form. That's what he's saying. For when we stand back from it, when we can separate our mind from its sensations, we perceive that this is a nervous and sensational and automatically dynamic mode of consciousness. Note the word automatically dynamic mode of consciousness. Okay? You don't need to think mentally that you are hungry. The body itself will tell you. When you have pain, you become aware of the pain through the body and the vital first, not through the mind. Okay? It's very interesting. Okay, let me tell you something interesting because the automatically dynamic mode of consciousness, okay, I am built in a very peculiar way. I'm talking about my personal. Suppose I'm going somewhere and I hit my foot against something painful. It takes 2-3 seconds for it to travel to the brain, and then I feel the pain. Okay. But it's automatic. I don't need to think about it. Even if I think about it, I won't know. Suppose I hit my leg against something sharp. Okay. It takes 2 seconds or 3 seconds. There's quite a big gap between the actual impact and the pain that I feel, because the nerves are taking it and giving it, and there's an interpretation in the manas. Okay, so it's automatic. It's not a mental movement at all. A gradation of awareness different from the mind. It's a gradation of awareness different from the mind. It has its own separate reactions to contacts and is sensitive to them in its own power of feeling. In fact, exactly what he's saying, I used to wonder Why it is taking so long for me to feel the pain? Okay, so he is explaining that each one is its own separate reactions. Everybody has got different reactions to these contacts, and it's sensitive to them in its own power of feeling. The capacity that you have, it determines how you feel these. These talking of contacts, okay, and that can be painful as well as enjoyable. Okay, so, and it's sensitive to them in its own power of feeling. Now you can understand the importance of the words in its own power of feeling. Everybody will feel in a different way. Okay, intensity and as well as the uh, quality of the pain. Intensity also is dependent on your own capacity as well as the quality of the pain. It does not depend for that on the mind's perception and response. It does not do that. But when Srila is talking of mind's perception and response, he is not talking of the manas, because the manas is the one that tells you that pain is there. Okay? It is not the pure mind. When he's talking of mentality, the logical pure mind, the third level of the mind in us. There is a physical mind, which is the manas. There is a vital mind, which is the one that gives you desires and all. And there is a pure mind. So Srila is talking here of it's not a pure mind reaction at all. The true subconscious is other than this vital and physical substrate. It is even deeper than the vital and the body. Because the body has got consciousness, but the subconscious is even lower than the body consciousness. It is the inconscient vibrating on the borders of consciousness. So you have now the gradation is very clear. Mental consciousness is your normal understanding of awareness. Okay? You are aware of the environment. And what is how to describe that? Reaction to impacts on the physical world. Then you say that, he is aware. Okay? Then there is the vital consciousness, which is at a lower level. Then there is a body consciousness, which is an even lower level. Then there is a subconscious, which is even lower than the body consciousness. Finally, you have the inconscient, which seems to be absolutely no consciousness at all, but it is there involved and it evolves. Because it is there involved, it evolves upwards. So there is the gradation that he has given you. Downwards, if you go, first mind, then vital, prana, then matter, then subconscious, and then an inconscient. The true subconscious is other than this vital or physical substratum. It is the inconscient vibrating on the borders of consciousness. You can think of it as the unicellular creatures, for instance, just coming into, or even a better example is, because there are connections in all these things. So the virus sometimes behaves like pure matter and sometimes behaves like a living creature. So, on the borders of consciousness, sending up its motions to be changed into conscious stuff, swallowing into its depths impressions of past experience as seeds of unconscious habit and returning them constantly, but often chaotically, to the surface consciousness. Missioning upwards, much futile or perilous stuff of which the origin is obscure to us. In dream, in mechanical repetitions of all kinds, in untraceable impulsions and motives, in mental, vital, physical perturbations and upheavals, in dumb automatic necessities of our obscurest parts of nature. So, the last part he explained very well, but we'll have to look carefully at what he's saying. So he's saying in the subconscious, it is like, a pond into which you are throwing things. Those things are there in the pond. You don't see them anymore, but they are there. All the events of life in your own personal life, all the interactions that you had with everybody, all these things go down into the subconscious and remain there. You may forget the event. Suppose you have met somebody and you have forgotten about it, but the subconscious does not forget. It is there. Just as I said, like a pond. Whatever is there, it is thrown in. You don't see it, but it is there. It doesn't disappear. Okay. Now, it's very interesting what you're saying, but that subconscious is not inactive. It throws up all these things one by one. It can throw up in dreams. Okay, that's what when in subconscious dreams are very chaotic. Okay, often you may see all sorts of nonsensical things. Okay, which are coming from the subconscious. When you have dreams from the intraconscious, there's a lot of meaning and purpose in them, but you have to undo the symbol. They come in symbolic forms. It's very, very interesting. It gives you a great amount of knowledge on this intraconscious. But the subconscious is chaotic. So we're saying very chaotic. And it comes up to the waking consciousness. But there's something else also he's saying. Missioning upwards, much futile or perilous stuff, of which the origin is obscure to us. I'll take up first of all futile, then I'll take up perilous stuff. Futile, useless things. Okay? Like I'm going to knowledge, and on the corner, a dog was barking. Okay, that also is registered in the subconscious, but it's absolutely useless to me. So futile, even that gets recorded in the subconscious. Then he's saying perilous stuff. Now that's more interesting. Okay, now perilous stuff. Suppose you are a small child, okay, and you have had some bad experience. And as a child, you are not mentally aware, but it has gone down into you. It becomes a complex. Those who know psychology a little bit, it becomes a complex. So, suppose you have eaten something which is very unpleasant, okay? So, that goes down into the as a seed. It goes down to subconscious. Now, whenever again there is something that comes up, you are having dinner and that same thing comes up, unconsciously you will reject it. Okay. So this is the role of the subconscious. You don't know why you are rejecting, but you reject it. Okay. But there's something even worse. Perilous stuff. Perilous stuff is, I'll give you two examples. Okay, then it's very interesting because I saw that. One is, there was a person who was a split personality. Okay? And it became, now split personality is very dangerous because you don't know what you're doing. Okay? This is I'm referring to a movie called The Three Faces of Eve. It is available on the internet and you can download it also. It's a very interesting movie, 1.5 hours, and it shows the origin in America when they first discovered the phenomenon of split personality. You behave in different ways. Once you are Mary, then you are again something Helen. Okay, you may be Madhusudan, and next minute you are Shekhar. Completely different behavior. So this they found out that what had happened was this child, when she was a child, okay, she was forced to kiss her grandmother who was dead. Now this child did not want to do that. Okay. And she was forced to, because that was a family tradition. You are bidding goodbye to your grandmother, and even the child is asked to do that. But the child was resisting and crying loudly, but still they forced her to do it. Now this has gone down into the subconscious. And when it comes up, it becomes perilous. It gives you a complete split personality, dangerous. Or a better example, when you were a small child, okay, you had an experience of drowning in the sea, okay. You had that experience, and a fear of water remains always with you forever. Then that consciousness, that has to be removed by hypnosis. The hypnotist takes you back into the subconscious, makes you relive that moment, and suggests to you very strongly that now that fear has been removed. So that's the role of the subconscious. So perilous stuff, that's what it means. So there can be fears. Unknown fears also can be there. So this is perilous stuff, and all that is responsible because of the subconscious. Nothing is ever rejected, nothing possible. They are all recorded in the subconscious. So of which the origin is obscure to us. Now it's clear what we mean. Sometimes useless things are futile, and sometimes perilous stuff also can be there. So that is the reason why in yoga you have to go deep down and completely illumine your subconscious. It has to become conscious. Then all these complexes which are there hidden inside, they get dissolved because the light comes in and destroys all these things. That is the work that Sri Aurobindo was doing in the God's labor, if you remember. Okay? Now, this is the what is being said for the subconscious. In dream, in mechanical repetition of all kinds. Now, what is the mechanical repetition of all kinds? You know, there are very interesting things. You will see sometimes people have very curious habits. These are the mechanical consciousness. Yeah, you have got, mudra dosh. Na? Mudra dosh is sometimes people, you will see some peculiar type of itching. Okay, there used to be a gentleman in the ashram here. He is no more. I'm talking about long. He used to do some movements like, like that. Arjun Bhai he had this movement. It is gone like that. This is one. Then another one was there used to be a twitch. He used to I don't know if you can see me, but these are all the mudra dosh, okay? So these are all also coming from the subconscious. Peculiar. These are habits which are there in the subconscious. So let me see, mechanical repetition of all kinds. I'll give you a very interesting example also of somebody else. Okay? It was a gentleman who, before entering into a door, before entering into a building, he would stand at the beginning of the door, go in 2 steps and again come out. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating. I've seen this myself. And afterwards I was told there is some mudra dosha. Okay? And he will repeat this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then go into the building. So what Sharma is saying, these are the mechanical repetition. See, if you read only the words, it will remain very vague to you. But if I give you these examples, it becomes very, very clear what Sharma is saying. Mechanical repetition of all kinds. Mudra dosh, okay, fears of all kinds, these type of habits, okay, of all kinds. These are all the even the superstitions. There are many, many players in sports who say, oh, I must first wear the sock on the left foot and then on the right foot. So these are all mechanical repetitive motions which are absolutely illogical. There's no logic to them at all. They are mechanical repetition of all. So these are all coming from the subconscious. Why? Because the subconscious eliminates nothing. Everything is recorded in the subconscious, but in a very, very suppressed consciousness. And then they come up. And when they come up, they cause all these things. Okay? In untraceable impulsions and motives. Now, motives also can be there. Okay? But you're not aware of the motive. Okay? I'll tell you something of my own because I've seen in myself. Okay? I have what is called compulsive behavior. Okay? If an idea comes into my mind, I have to execute it immediately. I don't want to delay it to tomorrow or day after. So that's also coming from subconscious. It forces you to do it. You can't say to yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. No. Then compulsive behavior. All these things are coming from the subconscious. So, untraceable impulsions and motives. In mental, vital, physical perturbations and upheavals. Even physical perturbations and upheavals can be there. In dumb automatic necessities of our obscurest parts of nature. So this is what we explained. The subconscious is not at all really unconscious. It is consciousness at a very, very low level, and it stores up everything that has happened. Okay? And it comes up in irrational motives and behavior, and also all sorts of even physical mudra doshas. It's a very interesting thing. Now, does it mean that the subconscious is a useless thing? Absolutely not. Because precisely when you put in some good habits, for instance, they tell you satsang Okay, get into the habit of good company. Get into the, for instance, go on mechanically saying your mantra. Okay, in the beginning, even if it is not conscious of the meaning, it will go down into your subconscious and it will come up all the time. In Savitri, there is a place where he says that the mantra repeated very often becomes mechanical. Your mind may be elsewhere, but the mantra goes on repeating itself. Okay, by itself it goes on repeating itself, not with a mental effort. So this is the power of the subconscious. So subconscious, like everything else in life and in the body, everything has got a double function. It can retard you, it can also help you. Okay? So this is what the subconscious is. Very interesting. So now we can read the next paragraph. But the subliminal, now he is talking about the subliminal, which is quite different. The subliminal is very, very conscious. It is 10 times more conscious, 10 times the way of speaking, 10 times more conscious than the outer nature of mind, life, and body. Okay. So now we'll read the next one. So who will read? Somebody will have to read.
Should I read?
Yes, please do that, Sukhi.
But the subliminal self has not at all this subconscious character. It is in full possession of a mind, a life force, a clear, subtle physical sense of things. It has the same capacities as our waking being, a subtle sense and perception, a comprehensive extended memory, and an extensive selecting intelligence, will, self-consciousness. But even though the same in kind, they are wider, more developed, more sovereign. And it has other capacities which exceed those of our mortal mind because of a power of direct awareness of the being, whether acting in itself or turned upon its object, which arrives more swiftly at knowledge, more swiftly at effectivity of will, more deeply at understanding and satisfaction of impulse. Our surface mind is hardly a true mentality, so involved, bound, hampered, conditioned is it by the body and bodily life and the limitations of the nervous system and the physical organs. But the subliminal self has a true mentality superior to these limitations. It exceeds the physical mind and physical organs, although it is aware of them and their works and is, indeed, in a large degree, their cause or creator. It is only subconscious in the sense of not bringing all or most of itself to the surface. It works always behind the veil. It is rather a secret intraconscient and circumconscient than a subconscient, for it envelopes quite as much as it supports the outer nature. The description is no doubt truest of the deeper parts of the subliminal. In other layers of it, nearer to our surface, there is more ignorant action, and those who, penetrating within, pause in the zones of lesser coherence or in the no man's land between the subliminal and the surface, may fall into much delusion and confusion. But that too, though ignorant, is not of the nature of the subconscious. The confusion of these intermediate zones has no kinship to the inconscious.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the, now he has come to the, remember the chapter, the boundaries of the ignorance. Ignorance is the opposite of consciousness. So he is examining, first of all, he has gone down, and then now he is going inwards, and then he will go upwards. And I don't remember, maybe he will even go outwards. Okay. Horizontally, you can go inwards and you can go outwards, like science is doing, going outwards. Okay. So this is the, now he is dealing with the intra-conscient, the subliminal. So I'll read the summary and then we'll come back to each sentence. Okay. So what he's saying here, the subliminal and the subconscious and the inconscient are quite different. Okay. The subconscious is below, dark, absence of consciousness. The subconscious is actually semi. Maybe only 10%, 90% it is unconscious. 10% is there in seed form. But the inconscient is there probably 99%. Okay, unconscious. So this subliminal, now we talk about the subliminal, is within, okay, more conscious, more knowing than even the surface being. Okay, it is more conscious and more than the surface being. Surface being, what you are aware of in your normal consciousness of body mind. The subliminal or the intraconscious has the same consciousness as the surface waking consciousness, but is superior to it in many ways. It has in it a power of direct but separated knowledge. We have seen that direct but separated. In other words, if you have the power of going into your intraconscious, okay, you can know what somebody else is thinking or even his motives. But it is his motive and his thinking, not yours. The other one is the direct, non-separated knowledge. That's the identification. His knowledge, his thinking becomes your thinking. Complete identification with the person concerned. But this is the intraconscious, it is direct but separated knowledge. Okay? So we examined this now. We have seen before. There are 4 types of knowledge. So intraconscious, we have the second type. The direct, you don't need your senses. You can see what the other person is thinking, what the other person is feeling. Direct separation. It uses subtle senses in the interconscious. Subtle senses, not the gross senses. This is the second grade of the fourfold knowledge. Okay? It is in touch with the universal. Because as you said, remember, I told you it's the kitchen garden at the back. If you think of yourself as a house, okay, the house is built on a 60-40 plot, okay, but at the back of the garden, there's a garden and it's open to the sky. That is why if you go into your intraconscious, you are in touch with the universe. And whatever is there in the universe can be available to you if you focus. Okay? It's in touch with the universe. There's no roof stopping you. Okay? Now, the surface mind, vital and body are limited, hampered, obstructed in their workings. The subliminal has, on the contrary, a true mind, a true vital, a true body, the subtle physical. Okay? The true body is the subtle physical, but it works behind the veil. Now, I will, what Srimla is saying here, surface mind, vital body, and are limited, hampered, obstructed. Because to get the image of the house again, if you are standing inside the house, there's a roof above you which is hampering you. You can't look above. There are walls also that are not allowing you to look outwards. Only the doors and windows are there. And the doors and windows are the senses. Okay. That's why it's very useful. That image that I gave you about a house, okay, is very useful. Now you can understand exactly what's in this. They're all hampered. Why? Because the walls are there and the roof is there. And even the floor is there. That also doesn't allow you to go down into your subconscious. The subliminal has, on the contrary, a true mind, a true vital, a true body, which is the subtle physical. But it works behind the veil. It tries to instruct, intimate its impulsions to the outer being, but mostly fails to do so because of the thick veils of body, the veil of life, and the veil of the mind. The veil of mind is the lightest and the subtlest. The veil of the vital is thicker, and the veil of the body is even thicker. So these are the veils that doesn't allow you to know what's going on in the intraconscious. Between the intraconscious and the outer nature, there is an intermediate zone. Srimla is calling that the no man's land. That is full of dangers, delusions. The intraconscious has no. One second. Okay. So that's what he said. The no man's land is a very dangerous thing. Because when you are going into your interconscious, you have to cross the veils of body, life, and mind. And before you can enter into the interconscious, there is a no man's land. And that no man's land is the vital. And the vital, the Srinath calls it the intermediate zone. He also calls it elsewhere the valley of the false glimmer. Okay? You can get stuck there, finished. You are in great danger. And you have to follow the instructions of the Guru. Otherwise, you'll get lost. I'll give you two examples of someone in the ashram. Two people who got stuck at the intermediate zone. One was a gentleman called Tirupati, and he entered the intermediate zone where you are the inner vital, and the inner vital gives you a tremendous amount of energy. So he said, I don't need to sleep and I don't need to eat. Srinath warned him and said, no, don't do that. Eat normally and sleep normally. He did not listen to him and he had to be sent away. He lost his mind. So that's a perilous, dangerous no man's land. Another one was not so dangerous, but that also was very interesting. There was a gentleman, his name was Arunda. He used to be a lifeguard because before we had the swimming pool, we used to go for swimming in the sea. And swimming in the sea is dangerous. So there are always lifeguards. So he was a lifeguard. And he used to live now where the big girls boarding is there, opposite the Desiree. Okay. Opposite Desiree, no, sorry. Big girls boarding is slightly, it's somewhere else. It's opposite the French Institute, sorry. So he used to live there. And he had many experiences. And he thought that it is wonderful experiences. He told them to mother. But mother could immediately recognize that these are the intermediate zone experiences. So she stopped them for him, for his own safety. And he used to complain to everybody. He used to say, oh, I had so many experiences, but mother has stopped them for me. Not realizing that he was saved actually. Okay? This is what he's saying in this paragraph. Okay? I read out the summary, but if you are interested, we'll go through each sentence because these languages are very interesting, but we have already come to 8:38. So we'll have to stop here today, but we can redo this one. These are very interesting details he is giving. So we'll do this. Suki, we will redo this one. Okay? But the supplement
Yes.
Tomorrow itself.
Yes, I will make a note.
I will make note. Tomorrow we'll. Okay. It's nearly 8:40, so I'll have to say au revoir to everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you.